Get the Friendo Club set up today and get access to over 700 Going In Raw bonus episodes, our monthly Big Blue predictions challenges, and the ability to ask questions at Going In Raw. We also offer the Steven Larson comic book and exclusive Friendo Club t-shirt. Just hit join here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson to sign up. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Steven Larson's Pro Wrestling Podcast, ruining pro wrestling podcasting since 2014. Jam-packed episode today. We're talking AEW Fyter Fest. 4 hours of AEW wrestling. It's a 2-hour dynamite.
We're going to talk about all 4 hours?
Well, I mean, honestly, man, that collision was kind of a big nothing burger. We could just say the results. And
Or
if there's
like-
any...
Well, I mean, really, it's just a couple of story things that really kind of popped out about that show.
Yeah, there just wasn't a whole lot going on.
No.
So we could talk about that in some general terms.
All right,
and then, of
very
course,
well.
we talk about NXT with a huge debut, Mariah May. May I ask what her name is going to be, though, Larson?
We don't know yet.
Mariah could? Mariah should? Mariah June? There's a lot you could do with that.
I guess.
There's a lot.
Maybe they'll
Oh.
keep the last name, give her a different first name. Have you ever thought about that?
No.
Oh,
Maria May.
see?
That's not very different. We're also going to talk about what you guys want us to talk about in our What Do You Want Us to Talk About segment. But first, let's talk about Karrion Kross. Of course, with WWE recently letting the contracts of R-Truth, Carlito, and Valhalla, a.k.a. Sarah Logan, expire. There's been a lot of speculation about what could await those with expiring deals in 2025. Fightful Selects reported recently that sources have informed them that Karrion Kross's deal is up this summer, and sources close to Kross seem to indicate that WWE has not approached him about a new deal. Fightful adds that talent is generally told within a month of their contract expiring that a new deal won't be forthcoming.
Or I guess would be, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's... You know, if it's a situation where they're looking at the expiring contracts this year and only really trying to re-sign talent that they think is massively contributing to what's going on television, interesting philosophy, because in my estimation, R-Truth contributes quite a lot to what goes on television. And the Karrion Kross right now is contributing quite a bit, seemingly could contribute much, much more if given the opportunity. So again, this is, if his contract isn't up till sometime this summer, so between June and September.
Right.
You know, and if the policy is, well, about a month before the contract's up, they let him know the contract's not going to be renewed, there's still a good amount of time for the process to start for negotiating a new deal, perchance. So I don't want this to seem like, and I don't think anything about Fightful's report here seems to indicate this is a sky is falling situation for Karrion Kross fans in WWE. But, you know, given the news this week of the contracts expiring, I think that's a topic that's fresh on a lot of people's mind. And you got Kross, who is building up a fairly organic groundswell of support, and to see that come to an end because they don't offer him a new deal? Like, come on now. You could make money with this guy. Do something with him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. The truth thing is interesting because although I gave a pretty passionate rant about this on I don't know, a couple days ago when we were talking about the truth thing, I think on Monday. Yeah, Monday. If the idea is we are interested in, like, Truth would show up more often than not. He would show up, be funny for a short segment, and then go away. And that wasn't even every single week. It was most weeks. But I can understand how maybe if the idea is, well, we don't use this person and we don't see using this person to a significant degree, we can't integrate him, or they can't figure out how. They don't see the vision of integrating him within into a into a larger part of a storyline, I understand. I don't agree, but I understand. I mean, it's, he was a bit comedic player, and maybe Paul Levesque doesn't see the value in that. I can understand that while being like, hey.
Did you see it? I think it's Jonathan Coachman, so who knows? Said that Truth was offered a new deal at a lower rate and he turned it down.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I can't speak to that. I don't know. I've heard other things Coachman has said, and I've been like, I don't think that sounds right.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why.
But we don't. But we don't know. We don't know if he was offered a different deal. We don't know if he was offered a Legends contract. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know any of that stuff. Nope.
So that's our truth. We've seen people like Bobby Lashley get significant crowd reactions. And this guy isn't a bit player. He's not a bit comedic act. He hadn't even sort of done everything. He had done a lot, but there was a lot. It boggles my mind that they didn't go to Cody and Bobby Lashley for a series, for a program. That's crazy. That to me is crazy. Maybe the idea was we got to make room for some youth in our roster because there's not a lot. Man, I don't know. Kross is one of those guys where it just seems like they're not interested in pulling the trigger on anything substantial with the guy. If he doesn't fit into whatever vision they have, it doesn't seem to matter what the fans want.
Yeah.
I look at Kross and I see this documentary produced for his own YouTube channel that has I don't know. I mean, I checked it 3 weeks ago. It was at almost 400,000 views. I'm sure it's significantly higher now. And it's a wonderfully produced documentary. The guy did one of those shoot style promos, WrestleMania weekend that everybody was talking about. He gets pops whenever he shows up on the Tron for the 3-minute segments that he's on, every other week on Raw. That being said, he's in these bit segments playing the devil on the shoulder in these bit segments on Raw. I don't know that that's going to change. I haven't given any evidence to suggest that's ever going to change.
Yeah.
I hope it does. I think the guy is terrific, and I think he has a lot to offer, and I think him and Scarlett as a package have a lot to offer, but I'm not booking the stuff. So I hope he gets re-signed. I really do. Because I think that he fits in perfect with what WWE does. I don't know that he fits in perfect with what AEW does. I think that, if the idea,
Oh, are you talking about the in terms of the wrestling aspect of it?
Pretty much. I'll be honest with you, dude. At this point, kind of everything. They don't. Right now is kind of the worst time to be an ex-WWE person. Because AEW, they got some good stuff going on.
They do.
And it's not really the stuff that, they lost Andrade, Rusev, Alistair, and they're kind of better for it. They're a company that is going heavy on the youth stuff, on, the up and coming guys. Swerve has built up so much more of a reputation and a profile outside WWE. And I don't know where Kross fits in. It's not like he's a former WWE highly decorated guy.
Yeah.
So that plays into his favor, maybe. But there is also the wrestling aspect. I don't know that we've seen him perform in the ring to the degree that might work best in AEW. Although I think AEW would benefit from a variety of characters because they're a character-based company. Their success is in the characters.
Absolutely is. And Karrion has shown in WWE that's his strength, at least as it relates to how WWE produces pro wrestling. And, I still don't feel like, and granted, it's a small sample size. I haven't seen a ton of his work outside of WWE before he signed. But what I have seen is way different than what he does in WWE. He is more so like a catch style wrestler. And he's not, the super fluid, fast, technical wrestler like Zack Sabre Jr. is. But he, you watch his match, he had a really good match against Timothy Thatcher in Future Stars Wrestling out of Las Vegas. He had a really good match against Jon Moxley there too. And both those matches seem to fit his style a lot better than what he's doing in WWE, where they wanted to be kind of like generic powerhouse wrestler.
And maybe he'd be able to adapt. Maybe he would be able to go back to that. Maybe he would be able to find a role there. Ricochet, and let's look at Ricochet, for example.
All he's got to do is show up in AEW with the baseball bat, break it in the ring, he's over, you know?
No, I agree. There is also, and that is incredibly impressive. I actually saw that video for the first time.
For those who don't know, he uses like what? It's some sort of MMA move, and he breaks a baseball bat with his bare hands, pretty much.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really cool. So, but you look at the success of Ricochet in AEW. It's a character thing. It's a character thing, and I think that plays to his favor. But as Tony Khan right now looking at WWE guys is like, you know what? We're doing fine without any of that. Let's just focus on what we got going. Or would you look at Ricochet and be like, you know what? In a right situation, a guy that's underutilized, a guy that has built up a fan base, isn't that exactly what we want? I don't know what his thought process would be.
I don't know either.
But he's I think he's doing interesting stuff with the small amount that he's given in WWE.
Yeah.
But it could be a situation where Triple H is just like, I don't know what to do with that. And sometimes if the creative guy in charge is like, I don't really know what to do with that, so I know he gets reactions, but I don't know how to book him in good stories. So what else am I going to do with him?
Yeah, I don't know. Going back to potentially, I know we're looking way ahead here. The possibility of Kross and AEW, use the Ricochet example. And if it's a situation, I feel like AEW would benefit from bringing in former WWE guys who are focused on character work. Because I think in the past, they brought on Andrade and Alistair and Rusev, and to varying degrees, primarily Miro, the focus was on the character stuff. And then the kind of the idea was, well, what can they do now that they're not in the WWE system? Like, are we going to see them be able to reach their fullest potential? And with all three of them, you could make the case that didn't necessarily happen. But I think with Kross, I don't know, it feels like AEW now has more of a focus on how they approach their characters. And I think right now that would really benefit. I think if Miro were to walk into AEW now, he might fare better because the focus so much more is on characters and how they affect stories and the in-ring stuff. Whereas, after he dropped the TNT title, I don't know what the hell AEW's vision for their company was. It was all over the place.
It was all over the place. Plus, there was a certain amount of, let's be honest, man. We're not backstage. You hear all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. We don't know what the mindset was with how some of these wrestlers appreciated or didn't appreciate how they were being used, and then how that affected their careers going forward in AEW.
How they viewed AEW in terms of the overall arc of their career.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it seems in a different place where the people that are there, seemingly they have bought into AEW. They're there because they want to be there in AEW.
And I think that's the major thing is if you buy into the opportunities that AEW potentially presents to you,
it could pay off.
I think it could pay off. You could be really successful. If you look at AEW, well, this is the stop before I go back to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not so much.
And we're not casting accusations anywhere, but we hear things. You hear things.
Well, it's the pro wrestling business. People are going to go to where they think is the best opportunity for them. And if they think at that moment, after they got released by WWE, AEW is the best opportunity for them, that's where they're going to go. And when their contract's up, they think WWE is now the best opportunity for them, that's where they're going to go.
It's a weird situation, too, with like the changeover from Vince to Triple H. And then people are like, oh, what's going on over there? What's happening?
People have a strong working relationship with Triple H, probably from their days in NXT. I understand why they want to go back. Totally.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, yeah, dude, I hope the guy gets re-signed by WWE, and I hope that he gets matches on television, not just main event. He's won some matches on main event.
Yeah.
But the guy, I think you run with what he's doing and you put him in a more prominent spot. I don't think you can go wrong. I think the guy is I think he's got everything you want in WWE.
Yeah.
And I think AEW would be lucky to have him as well. Whether or not any of that will fit into into what happens in the end, I don't know. But I'd love to see him in WWE, and I hope he does. It's just, damn, man, he's getting these little segments on television. He makes the most of them, and he doesn't get past that.
I know.
So, man,
the hope, I guess, is now that the interactions between him and Sammy are a bit more consistent, that maybe that will, parlay itself into an actual feud between the two of them. And if given the opportunity, hey, look, he can, from a storytelling and character standpoint, he delivers week after week. He can put on decent matches. Like, why wouldn't you keep him around at that point?
Yeah, I know. No, I know. I agree. I agree. If he can hold his own in the ring but I honestly think that so much of it boils down to Triple H looks at the character and thinks to himself, what can I do with this?
It's interesting to see what they've already done with Kross's character and the number of people who turned heel after feuding with him.
Yeah, I still don't know how much of that is like coincidence and how much of that is purposeful,
I know, but regardless, if you see a pattern, whether it's intentional or not, and then more recently, obviously, it seems it is an attempt to make it more intentional. That's this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's at least a through line, whether it was intended from day one or not, that you could carry on and build upon and actually tell some stories involving him rather than him being on the periphery of other people's stories.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But at the same time, obviously we got a pretty small sample size before he passed. But, Bray Wyatt had arguably a similar thing at various times in his entire arc. He had most famously, obviously, the WrestleMania Cena match, both the WrestleMania Cena matches, Firefly Funhouse and the 30. I don't know which one it was. 31. I don't know what it was.
30. It was 30.
It was 30. Okay.
Yeah.
And on his last run under Triple H, it's not like Triple H. They did the great QR code stuff. Came back, they put him in a Mountain Dew match, which still boggles my mind.
Yeah, I don't get that. Or even the Wyatt Six stuff. They come in with this great premise. Great premise.
And they have
it seems
no
like
idea.
that it seemed like, hey, there's stuff that you could do in and outside of the ring that could build upon this idea you're working with. And that idea seemed to last maybe halfway through the feud with Chad Gable. And after that feud, Chad Gable didn't change at all after feuding with the Wyatt Six, which seemed to kind of defeat the whole purpose of feuding with the Wyatt Six.
Kind of did, though, didn't he?
Well, I mean, he's got an alter ego now, I guess.
He turned into a second person.
I guess.
He's El Grande Americano. Oh, man. So, anyways, look, man, I want the best of Kross. Seems like a lovely guy. And I don't know, but I saw a documentary that he made, and I was like, oh, man, I really hope this guy succeeds. Doesn't seem like a scumbag. So hopefully he gets his, because I enjoy his work. I think he's cool.
Yeah, I think he's good.
Let's see. Oh yeah, we'll do this now. We've got some sponsors for the show, so we're going to talk about them first before we move on to Mariah could, shoulda, woulda in NXT.
All right. This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Hey guys, it's okay to struggle. 6 million men suffer from depression every year, and it often goes undiagnosed. But real strength comes from opening up about what you're carrying, and that's something I found out when I was dealing with severe anxiety in my mid-20s. After years of carrying the weight of that anxiety, I realized that I had to do something about it and started seeing a therapist who taught me the skills I needed to better cope with my anxiety.
And with over 35,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. BetterHelp is also making therapy far more convenient. You can join a session with a therapist with a click of a button, so you could fit therapy into your busy schedule, and you can switch therapists at any time.
As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/raw. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
And this episode of Stephen Larson's Pro Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by Cash App. Larson, I'm be honest with you.
What's that? What?
Sometimes being a stepdad is about being the dad that steps up. The other day, my oldest stepkid, Marissa, was over here visiting, and she mentioned that she was low on gas, but she wasn't going to get paid until the next day.
Ah, so she asked the old man for some money, huh?
Yeah, you know what? Before she even asked, I realized what was going on. I offered it up because times can be tough for young adults these days. So I was like, here, kiddo, let me give you $50 so you can get yourself a tank.
Oh, that was nice of you.
Oh, I know. I'm like the best. So I pulled out my checkbook and I started writing. I was like, all right, here we go. Let me make this out to. And she was like, what the heck am I going to do with a check, old man?
Yeah, she has a point. You got out the checkbook?
Got out the checkbook. She was like, dude, just Cash App me. And I was like, that makes more sense because Cash App is a safe, easy, and fast way to send, receive, and transfer money to family and friends. It's also easy to get started. Just enter your phone or email and some other basic information. No bank account needed.
So I'm guessing the money got to her quicker via Cash App than it would via check, yeah?
Well, yeah, man, it's a check. It's just a piece of paper with a bunch of writing on it. The money was there super fast, and Cash App is secure and safe. Like, if you're about to send money to a sketchy account, a scam warning pops up.
All right, you've convinced me. I'm downloading Cash App right now so you can finally pay me back for all those chicken sandwiches I've bought you throughout the years. I double-checked my numbers. Well over 100.
Oh, my God. I didn't know you'd be keeping tab. I got a tab open with Larson? A chicken sandwich tab?
You do.
Hey, you know what? No problem. Let me write you a check. Here we go. You just don't cash it until a week from Thursday.
A check? You're getting out the checkbook for me?
Getting out the checkbook. I'm joking, man. I'm joking. But since you're a new Cash App user, check this out. For a limited time only, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. That's for real. There's no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code GOINGRAW in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. All right, man. So, yeah, you heard us right. Mariah May. Now, NXT. After months of speculation, she made her NXT debut this Tuesday. We're going to talk about the NXT episode a little bit later on. Fightful Select report, she signed a multi-year deal with WWE. While she wasn't referred to by name on NXT, Fightful reported that they haven't heard that she'd be changing her name, while WrestleVotes Radio said they should be getting a new name once they decide on one. They also said that Finn Balor was going to get a big push in 2025. So I call that a grain of salt, Larson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we always wonder what the line is between and whose call it is in terms of changing names. Like, is there a certain point where WB is like, no, you should keep your name because you got so much equity in that name you built through your brand that it's going to benefit everybody if you to keep that name, as opposed to, you know, maybe there's some nebulous area where it's like, well, you can keep your name if you want to. And obviously there's times where they're like, you're changing your name, you know?
So, like, part of the Fightful Select's Patreon deal, their subscription service, Sean does like a weekly Q&A thing where he just answers a couple of questions. Somebody asked about that, and he says, you know, it just boils down to trademark stuff. Like, you know, I feel like it's simply a business thing. It's like, hey, here are the benefits to keeping your name. Here's the benefits to having us rebrand you, and we'll figure it out. I don't know that, you know, at this point, I don't give a flying fuck anymore. It is what it is. Ricky Saints is Ricky Saints. Sometimes I'll call him Ricky Starks. Sometimes I won't. Mariah May is going to be rebranded something. It's always funny to speculate on what the name's going to be because it's always silly. And then you just get used to it. So, because this is the thing. I'm tired of having this conversation every single time because it's going to happen so much more often. There was a period of time when they just brought them in and they had their name. And now they seem to be going back to, seems like we're going to be trademark. There's going to be more trademark issues. Probably has to do, I would maybe assume some of this has to do with either like TKO as a business or AEW and trying to go back to that whole, well, we don't necessarily want them to be able to go back to a place after they built up a WrestleMania-sized brand here in WWE and use the name that we poured a bunch of money into. Maybe that's the situation. I don't know. I don't care. I'd get a bigger kick out of just talking about what the potential names could be. So, Larson.
Right. Yeah.
you honestly, condescendingly face palmed when I was trying to offer up some legitimate names from Mariah May. So how about you, smart
Well,
guy?
some of these names were Mariah June,
Yeah, right. Because
Mariah should, could,
right, yeah,
would.
she could be a big Alice in Chains fan.
All right, Mariah
Would, yeah.
would,
If that'd be a killer theme
could,
song.
Mariah would, you.
See, there you go. This is much more fun than asking why. Oh man! All right, dude. We got a lot to get through, so let's talk about what the friendos want to talk about.
What do you want to talk about?
Of course, every
All right.
week we post a thread for our Thursday show where we ask the friendos what they want to talk about in the world of news. And I always, in big ass capital letters, what news stories from the week do you want us to talk about? I have already banned several people from commenting on any of our videos because some of this shit is so out of pocket. Like some people just complain about I forget, dude, I banned like 2 today and I forget why, but I was like, this is so out of pocket. I don't know what is, some people are just weird out there, man.
I know. We make it perfectly clear both in the header of the thread. Plus, every week when we do the show, we're asking for news stories that we haven't talked about already during the course of the week that you are interested in hearing a discussion about.
Right.
Not speculation.
Right.
Not fantasy booking ideas. None of that.
Right.
News stories.
And honestly, some of it is kind of like a little bit of collaboration. You and I are a lot less on social media these days.
Yeah, basically not at all for me.
So sometimes there are some news stories that might just sort of fly by. And it's like, hey, maybe we haven't even heard of it. So then we'll go and look it up. Oh, this is what they're talking about. Okay,
Exactly.
cool. Right on. But like, yeah, I wish I remembered what I deleted and got rid of. Did you know, by the way, I lost my right to talk about Andrade? Because yesterday on WrestleJuice, I did a video where I like power ranked all 12 participants across both matches.
Oh,
and
did
I
you have him
power
at
ranked
12?
from least likely to most likely. No, I put Andrade at 12, 11, like 10, I think.
All right.
It was like Solo was last, and then El Grande Americano was next to last. And I was like,
Really?
dude, and I gave you credit. I was like, dude, Larson had this great idea, but I don't see it happening. If it does, I'll be surprised. And so I put him pretty low. And then I put Andrade because I was like, you know what? Larson's idea for the mega title is really cool. I kind of see it more for Andrade, though. And so I was like, this I could see, but not really. But I put him there. And then I started, and I said, just sort of as an offhand comment, because my memory is terrible, I was like, he could show up in AAA. And then I thought about it. I was like, I don't remember what his history is in AAA necessarily. Like talking about sort of recent history. I think he was there in between AEW and WWE, I think.
Yeah, I think he was there when he was in AEW.
Okay, yeah. But like some person just eviscerated me in the comments. He said, what do you mean you don't remember his history in AAA? You have no right to comment anything about Andrade if you don't know about his.
There we go.
So I lost my Andrade rights.
You can't talk about Andrade anymore.
Sometimes comments are crazy. Anyways, first up from It's Aaron. Wrestlers such as Gunther and The Miz removing WWE from their socials. So Gunther, it's all just Ginny stuff. And apparently he's removed WWE from like his social media stuff.
Well, it's like all his wrestling related tweets too, I read, were gone.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just like, all right, my social media now is just is more focused on the man Walter, not the character Gunther.
Yeah, that could be.
And like as it relates to the Miz, he's got so many endeavors outside of WWE.
Yeah.
That maybe, I don't know, he thought up of, or his management team thought, well, maybe if you rebrand your socials so it's less WWE focused, it might open more avenues for you in terms of work outside the world of wrestling.
Let's see.
I mean, I think people noticed this after the R-Truth thing.
Mm-hmm.
After R-Truth's contract wasn't renewed.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if just kind of the confluence of events, people maybe inferred something based on that but I mean, obviously we don't know. We don't know what led to that happen.
So I don't know what he did prior, like what his what his Twitter looked like prior to this, but like his avatar literally is like a picture of him holding the world title. And his banner picture, or whatever they call it, is him walking out to a massive crowd in WWE. But all of his actual posts are just him and his wife, which is kind of a lovely thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then for The Miz, WWE Miz, let's see here. Where's his dumb thing? Oh, here we go. The Miz. Is this him? No, that only has 20 followers.
Is even the Miz on Twitter anymore? Or is he Mike
Let's see here. Mike the Miz. Let's take a look here. Mike the Miz. There we go. Let's see. My goodness, 3.1 million followers. The most must-read Twitter account of all time. Watch all seasons of Miz and Mrs. streaming on Peacock. Let's see here. I mean, there's a shot of him in Truth. He's giving some love to Truth with them with the tag titles. So, and then a lot of him at Topgolf.
Oh, he likes Topgolf.
Well, golfing in general. There's a lot of golfing
is fun.
stuff here.
You should take up golf, Steve. We can go golfing sometime.
I know you keep on telling me to do that, dude. I only have so much time in the day, though, man.
You can't carve out an hour and a half once or twice a month to go hit some golf balls?
Dude, I'll take a look at my schedule. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, boy, there's a lot of golf here. So, I don't know. I think it probably, to me, says a bit more about their perception of social media and Twitter. It's like, is it more of a headache these days than not? Certainly, I think we've decided that for us, it kind of is.
Yeah.
So I could see how those people with like a much bigger spotlight on them and their lives and their social media being under a much harsher, microscope, if you will.
Yeah.
I could see how maybe they'd be like, you know what? I don't really need this shit in my life anymore.
That could be.
Yeah.
That could be. Yep. We don't know why.
Oh, no.
Myth Trainer AC says the rumored heat in the TNA locker room over W Star being the champion. Well, the source of this rumor, as I saw it, was one Tommy Dreamer, who is a member of the TNA creative team. So anything he says regarding heat in the TNA locker room for Trick Williams being champion, kayfabe.
Was this a tweet of his?
No, I'm guessing he saw it on.
On Busted Open or something. Okay, because I know Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, said something like, Trick seems like a nice kid, but this is bullshit.
Yeah, Tommy talked about it on Busted Open Radio.
Okay. All right. Keeping that kayfabe shit, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
probably.
would not put any stock in that whatsoever if
Tommy
Dreamer was talking about it.
That was another question that Sean had addressed in terms of that stuff. And he was like, TNA has turned down plenty of pitches from WWE because they felt it wouldn't be in the best interest of their company. They're not just going along with everything. Mm-hmm. But you got to think Trick Williams, the partnership, is going to bring more eyes to the TNA pay-per-view when he drops that title to a TNA talent. Probably Joe Hendry.
Probably Joe Hendry again, yep.
Right. So maybe Bubba Ray. I don't know. So I'm pretty sure they're probably all fine with it.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Bucket Dipper says Matt Jackson saying if PWG were for sale, he'd make an offer to purchase it. So apparently the PWG has not run a show since 2023, if memory serves.
Man.
Because they lost the venue they had in downtown LA.
Was it the Henry Fonda? Were they running?
No, that's in Hollywood. I want to say the Globe Theater.
The Globe. That sounds right. Yeah. Man, if Matt Jackson were to purchase it and find like a bingo hall or an armory or whatever, VFW, I think that's the only way you can do PWG. At like the closest location you can to where it was before, so you get a similar crowd. There was something man, sometimes there is just something, I think for him, it'd probably be very nice to own that thing. Yeah. It'd be like us, like I think we owned the trademark to 10 for the Win for a bit. I have no idea what happened with that, but it was like, hey, you know what? It's just nice to have that because that was our thing, Mm-hmm. You're never going to bring that magic back. That magic has now been transferred to things like Deadlock Pro Wrestling and other promotions like that.
Yeah.
that was such a special time, a special moment, and it provided such a special service to the pro wrestling industry. And nowadays, the path to getting to the top is different. And I don't know if he were to revive PWG. There's so many other places that do that now, that provide that springboard. It's such a special moment in time, and you can't recreate stuff. You can't recreate special moments in time as much as you'd love to. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to say, hey, I'd like to buy this thing, hey, I'm sure he would love to own it, because it'd be like, hey, I have that. Nobody can corrupt it. Nobody can take it and use it for something that would be exploitative to that brand.
Here's another aspect of it is if, like, I know on Max, they have a good amount of the Dynamite back catalog on there and stuff, right? Past pay-per-views. Well, I mean, I don't know if Max would be interested in the PWG tape library, but if Matt were to purchase PWG, give Super Dragon a call, purchase PWG, get the tape library, put it up on Max. I mean, for years, the only way you could watch PWG stuff was buying the DVDs. I think they had a streaming deal with High Spot for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
But, predominantly their business model, PWG's, was selling DVDs, selling Blu-rays of the shows.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could not watch them.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that could be.
Who knows?
That could be. Different time back then.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's content within those tapes and DVDs
that's entirely possible.
that they might. I mean, look, you can have them. You can take all that stuff out. You can take that stuff out and still present it in a specific way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I could understand. Look, if he'd want to relaunch it, cool. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something really special about it. And that promotion died with. It didn't die in 2023. That promotion died when they lost that venue.
They lost the venue in Reseda.
Yeah.
187 Mr. House here says Slim Jim sponsoring the Weapons Under the Rings table specifically. So apparently they're going to have tables with Slim Jim logos on it. So when you put someone through the table, you snap it to the. Get it? Because you break the Slim Jim.
At least it's clever.
It is.
And it's going to be the new. I think it's going to be the new center logo for the foreseeable future. Logos on the tables. Yeah, okay, sure.
At least it's clever marketing in that respect.
Yeah.
We had that long conversation on Hot Takes this week about WWE kind of catching up to sports and other entertainment ventures in terms of the level of advertising and the product.
Mm-hmm.
At some point we're going to have kendo sticks sponsored by particular people.
Yeah.
On a weekly basis. Chairs.
Well, you know what they should do?
Here, this steel chair is brought to you by Lazy Boy. I don't know.
Right. Well, the kendo sticks. What if you get a kendo stick out and it's got like the Slim Jim wrapping on it, like for a beef jerky, and they have to unwrap it?
They have to unwrap it. If you break it, you're still snapping it. So.
Right.
And every time someone snaps it over their knee, you pipe in the Macho Man saying, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. You know what I would like? This is what I would like. Here's the thing. I don't mind just the immense, ridiculous amount of advertising. I want to see him spend some of that money. I want to see him spend some of it. Re-sign some people.
Yeah.
Don't let contracts expire for like a 3-year moratorium on contract expirations.
Sure, yeah.
Underutilize a shit ton of people while paying them ridiculous money.
Yes.
That's what I want to see.
That's what I want to see. Yeah, spend the money.
A catering cam where you can see the people in catering and just give me a lower of like how much we're paying these people to do nothing. We're just going to spend tons.
The catering is super opulent. Lobster. Filet mignon.
Oh my gosh. And it's all like on gold plates. You know, it's all just, yeah.
And it's all from the finest dining establishments in that particular city. If there's like a Michelin star rated place, they're doing catering that night.
Yeah. Just spend stupid money.
It's like $500 a plate.
Yeah. Vanity Project. They're getting $1 million each. These Evolve kids are getting stupid money.
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness.
That's what I want to see. I'd be happy if they started doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Paying, because at least as of a couple of years ago, I think it was a thing in the newsletter where it was talking about the percentages of various sports, what is paid to the athletes versus WWE and UFC, and UFC was at the very bottom in terms of the percentage. It was like 8%.
Yeah.
And I think WB was 10 at the time.
It's funny.
Most major sports organizations are 50% dish,
It cracks me up because UFC dudes are like the most outspoken on like politics and shit. And it's like, y'all want to get your finances in order before you start giving us advice. Like what the fuck? You're like getting the most ripped off, and you're gonna tell me about like how the world works? Okay, cool. Let's do that then. I don't know. That shit always made me laugh,
Yeah.
But yeah. Want to talk about AEW?
Let's talk about AEW. I just had an idea. So I got notes for Dynamite here. I didn't do any notes for Collision, but we can talk about stuff that happened on Collision within the context, because it was all kind of like one block of programming.
Oh, dude, good for you. Good. Yeah. I was like, God damn, this dude's got to take 4 hours of notes. That's
I have
cool.
a limit of 4 hours a day of typing notes.
Nah, man, that's cool. That's fine. Because, nothing. Yeah. I was were you surprised that like they did a straight up Dynamite? They announced Kenny versus Okada at All In. Winner takes all. I mean,
on Collision, yeah.
It was obvious that was going to happen. Yeah, at the very beginning of Collision. But if they didn't do the Fyter Fest thing, that would have punctuated Dynamite. That was sort of to bring people into Collision.
I mean, if they had done the typical Dynamite on Wednesday, Collision on Saturday,
Right.
the announcement of Kenny versus Okada on Collision would have kind of gotten lost in
that wouldn't have happened. Yeah,
the weekend events.
So it kind of that was Dynamite's overrun, basically.
Yeah, it was a 2-hour overrun of Dynamite. Yeah, with a couple extra matches.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought Dynamite was a lot of fun, and then like Collision started as like, oh, I thought they were gonna like really try to make this like a 4-hour event, and really it was just sort of like 2 hours of.
Well, most of the interesting stuff on Collision was front loaded, because I get it. They're trying to make sure people would watch the duration or start watching Collision, and be like, well, it's on, I'll just keep it on. So
was the Hangman promo, was that on Collision or Dynamite?
It was right after Ospreay's match with Lio Rush, which was the first match of the show.
Okay, all right, okay, so yeah, it was like.
So the collision kicked off in the aftermath of Kenny defending the international title, the confrontation with Okada, their brawl, and then right after that was Ospreay versus Lio Rush, and right after that was Hangman.
And then after that, it was just like, okay, it's now a normal Collision. Okay, yeah, you're right, it was front loaded, yeah. So yeah, we've got this is interesting. So we had Kenny Omega, obviously. So yeah, we'll just talk about what happened at the end first. Kenny Omega defended the international title in a 4-way. Really good match with Brody King, Claudio, and Mascara Dorada. The finish saw Kenny looking for a one-winged angel on Mascara Dorado. Dorado counters with a poison Rana. Brody takes out Dorada and Claudio with clotheslines. And then the finish saw Kenny catch Dorada's Rana attempt, hits a one-winged angel for a win.
Yeah, that was a cool finish.
That was a really
cool
caught
him
finish,
in powerbomb position, spun him around, and then hit the one-winged angel. That was cool.
So then, leading into Collision, Okada comes out. Kenny starts. They get into it. They're like shoving their titles in their faces. They start getting into it. Kenny starts beating down Okada, but Okada sort of goes down kind of a little too easy. But he's playing possum just so he can get down there next to Kenny's guts and give him a whopper of a punch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was like, why is Okada going down like a bitch like that? And then he just fucking loaded up a nasty punch right to Kenny's gut.
Yeah, right to his gut. And that just dropped Kenny. So Okada's looking for a Rainmaker. Kenny escapes that. He looks for a one-winged angel, and Okada escapes that, leaves the ring. And then later on, right before the main event, they announce, winner take all. Kenny versus Okada at All In.
So looking ahead, man, who wins that match?
I would guess Kenny, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
I would think Okada.
Yeah.
He's younger. He's the future.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like, Okada. Look, if you want the big feel-good moment, obviously it's Kenny. But you know how Kenny is. Kenny put over the Rainmaker every day of the week.
Yeah.
And Okada's gonna be wrestling longer, and you got to think he's gonna have a title run, like a world title run, at least by 2027.
You'd think so.
Sometime in the next.
You'd think so.
24 months, you would
During
think.
the duration of his contract, yeah.
And winning it all in just a killer match. This is going to be a really interesting match because this is in 2018 or 2017. They had that terrific series over those 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny's slower, but he's still phenomenal in the ring.
It's interesting because he's not as fast, but the explosivity's still there.
It is, yeah.
Because like when he does the You Can't Escape thing, when he does the moonsault, like the burst is there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the actual speed from doing the stuff isn't quite what it used to be.
I remember watching him back that first Wrestle Kingdom that we watched, 17.
Yeah.
2017. And watching him move was like, when I first watched RVD, it was like, God damn, like the snapping, like when he would twist around. And boy, he's good.
He was so good running the ropes. He'd do that so fast.
Yeah. And he's
like
still
Nathan
really
Frazier.
good. And Okada never had to rely on like being the fastest, quickest, none of that. He's just the best storyteller in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a hell of a match. A hell of a match. But yeah, I kind of figure like Okada, for the good of the company, probably needs it more.
It could be. I mean, it could be a situation where Okada wins the first one. He's got the titles, and they revisit it down the line. Maybe Kenny wins later on.
That could be.
I imagine if they have any sort of series in AEW, it's going to be split.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Will Ospreay still really lobbying to some degree to try to get Hangman and Swerve to work together, but then they ran a little clip of interaction between Swerve and Ospreay last week after Dynamite, where it came to blows. Because Ospreay's like, who's really the enemy here? Is it Hangman or is it Mox?
Mm-hmm.
And Swerve is insistent. I'm not working with Hangman. They start throwing hands. So Ospreay comes out. Tony Schiavone plays that bit of footage. And, he says, Ospreay says, I always assumed that Mox was the primary threat. Maybe Swerve is. Mm-hmm. Ospreay's really insistent. This is our one chance to get the title off Mox. If those who love AEW need to band together to ensure that this happens.
Mm-hmm.
And if Swerve, if you're going to stand in the way of that, then we got issues. And so he challenges him to a match on Dynamite next week.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really know what that accomplishes. Like, there should be a stipulation. If I win, you help Hangman. But Hangman doesn't want Swerve's help.
Yeah. I mean, Hangman also is kind of, he prefaced his promo by saying, if Ospreay has my back, then I have to have his. But I'm my own man, and I don't need anybody's help to win the AEW title.
Yeah.
Especially Swerve, is how he put it. So anyways, after Ospreay issues the challenge to Swerve, that is confirmed for next week, he's interrupted by Crew. And Leo Rush challenges him to a match. Sorry, no, Leo says that Will Ospreay is the worst thing about AEW. Because that goes back, because Ospreay said Mox is the thing that makes AEW suck.
Yeah.
And then it was Ospreay. He was like, all right, anybody want to see a Will Ospreay match tonight? He challenges Leo to a match on Collision.
Yeah, which was a really fun match. Leo Rush is a pretty darn good wrestler.
That he is.
Yeah.
Then later on, we have an Ospreay interview backstage. Alexi, then that's when they confirm that Ospreay Swerve 2 is happening.
It's that summer blockbuster.
Yeah, another 4-hour block of programming.
Another 4-hour block. So we got another Dynamite and then
2-hour overrun.
Yeah.
And so MJF steps in, and he's like, "Here, I'm coming here to help you. You got to stay out of Swerve and Hangman's business. Here's the thing: if you can get them to get along, then Hangman is a shoo-in to win the title. And if Hangman wins the world title, you can't beat him. You're not going to win it." So Ospreay asks MJF if there's anything else that he'd like to say. You're always thinking about yourself. Well, Ospreay says, "I'm always thinking about AEW. You don't want Hangman to win the title because you, MJF, know you can't beat Hangman." And MJF is leaving and comes back and goes, "Oh, Will, how's your son doing?" So then Will grabs MJF by his lapels. Hurt Syndicate step in, and MVP says, "We got business elsewhere tonight. Good luck on your match." And then Lashley gets in Ospreay's face and straightens out his shirt.
They haven't been. Ospreay is just staring daggers at him. I thought this was a wonderful way to now illustrate how the dynamic has changed with MJF. He can say whatever the fuck he wants now. And nobody's going to do shit about it because he's got these monsters with him. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty strong bit there. Again, you're weaving some stories in and out, which is always fun. We had Mark Briscoe taking on John Moxley.
Non-title match.
Non-title match, of course. Mark Briscoe. Still,
well, Mark does a good job explaining why. He's like, I took the L last week, and my son came up to me and was like, "Did you quit?" And then Mark's like, "No, I didn't quit. I never quit. I passed out." So he says, "Now my kids are doubting me, so I don't care if the title's on the line. I want you, Mox." So at least I appreciate that it wasn't just a non-title match just because they wanted to have a match.
Yeah,
there's purpose behind it.
Here's the thing, though. He says the wife is going to line up the kids in front of the TV to watch me whoop his ass. Mark, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Especially you're just bleeding everywhere.
I mean, you just got to repeat of what we saw last week where Mox chokes you out and you pass out.
Yeah, yeah. So, kids, more trauma. Probably not great, dude.
Yeah. Good match, though.
It's okay, kids. It's fake.
I think he tells his kids that.
Y'all need to keep kayfabe. Get on the stretcher. This was funny. Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa are just an absolute treasure. They're fucking hilarious. They teamed up against Sky Blue and Julia Hart. It was preceded by Tony Storm arriving. They did the everybody arriving at the arena gimmick.
They did.
And she says,
no Mox almost walking into a wall, though, today.
Well, he had Marina firmly in front of him.
Yeah.
So that if there was a wall that appeared out of nowhere, she'd get hit with it. So of course Excalibur is just talking the entire thing. And then Tony shows up and he has to shut up. So she's like, "Miss Monet, you want me at All In? You got me. And tonight you can have a front row seat for my match here in Denver. So bring a snack." The snack was a massive steak. That shit looked hella good.
And some salad, too.
And some salad. Said, "Enjoy the elevation, for I am the next mountain you must climb. Until then, my tits will be taped up and I'll be ready to tango." And she does a little tango and then leaves. So Mercedes comes out. Pony's saddles up with a steak and salad and watches the match. Match is a lot of
wine.
fun. What's it? Yeah, she has a glass of wine. Tony ends up getting the win by with a TCM chicken wing on Sky Blue for the win. Tony and Mina do their weird celebrating in the ring. Tony drops down to the floor, runs Monet off, takes a bite out of the steak and a swig of her wine. It was pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty great. Pretty great. So MVP said Hurt Syndicate had other business to attend to, so they come to the ring later on in the show.
He had a good question, man. He said, "What's up with the tag division here? It sucks."
Yeah. Where are the challengers?
Yeah,
we don't
right.
see any.
Yeah.
And he had Lashley give his opinion on the city of Denver, where he used to live.
Mm-hmm.
That's Lashley's thing now. What's he going to do, thumbs up or thumbs down? He gave Denver a thumbs down.
Nobody likes that bit more than Lashley.
I know, he is just endlessly.
He's always tickled with it, yeah.
He is. Yeah, so then that's when MVP is like, where's the tag division? When are some challengers going to step up? Oh, no one is, because no one's capable of beating Lashley and Shelton. And so he passes the mic to MJF, and MJF is talking about potentially facing Mystico at Grand Slam Mexico. And so he says, MJF says, "I'm going to watch Mystico's match next week, I think. And then if I think he's good enough, then I'll wrestle him at Grand Slam." So then Speedball, Commander, and Kevin Knight interrupt. And Commander says MJF has disrespected Mystico, Lucha Libre, and himself. Talks some crap to MJF in Spanish.
Calls him basura. It's garbage.
Speedball takes the mic, says, "You Hurt Syndicate, you want the best, they're right in front of you." And so MVP starts laughing. So then Kevin Knight says, MJF, you might not got what Commander said. That we're gonna pop off tonight. or pop it off tonight is what he said. So MVP is like, you want a match with us? Absolutely not. You haven't earned it. But you got an opportunity in front of you. So impress us in this next match, and maybe we'll give you a tag title match. So they face LFI, Roosh, Beast Mortis, and Dralistico. They get the win. Kevin Knight hits Beast Mortis with a UFO splash. Then afterwards, MVP comes back out to the ramp, and or Hurt Syndicate comes back out to the ramp. MVP says, "You got your ass whipped for 10 minutes, but in the end, you pulled it out. So you got yourself a trios match next week."
But you get a little taste of it right now.
Yeah.
And then the most unbelievable thing happened in the entire episode. Somehow, some way, these guys were able to get the drop on Lashley. But I watched Shelton Benjamin have to bend down to take some Mike Bailey offense. I'm like, get the fuck out of here with that. These guys are going to be turned to dust. So they have a 6-man next week with these guys, which is fun. But yeah, they should just be turned to dust. Whenever they get a tag title opportunity, they're going to be turned to dust. Or at least they should.
Well, they'd have to beat Hurt Syndicate next week to get the tag title opportunity.
Yeah, how is that going to work?
Oh, they're not beating the Hurt Syndicate. I think this is more a showcase for how the Hurt Syndicate works as a trios now.
So no tag title shot for MJF's not going to he's not going to mess up the chemistry. Nobody can eat the pin.
On Hurt Syndicate? No, absolutely not.
Right, yeah.
No. No. Nope. Unless there's a situation where Hurt Syndicate wins because MJF cheats, and then Speedball and Kevin Knight is like, you won, but you cheated. You didn't really prove that you were better.
There you go. There you go.
And then MVP is like, all right, to erase any doubts, you get your tag title match. Maybe something like that.
And then they just get turned to dust.
So we
dust people.
Max Caster posed the question last night: who can survive 5 with the best wrestler alive? So he comes out and does his usual best wrestler alive gimmick. He's got a petition. He asks the ref to sign it. While the ref's looking at it, he gets the crowd to do his chant, and they actually do it pretty well.
Oh yeah.
And he says, "No, that was the worst thing I've ever heard." 5-minute open challenge. It's answered by Will Hobbs. Hobbs beats him almost immediately. Yeah.
About 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was actually just sort of preening because he had him in the corner, just beating him with a bunch of lariats. And then Max stumbled over for a big spine buster.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Max though. He's funny.
Yeah, it's picking up steam. The thing he's doing now.
They ran a video on Collision last week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Where he goes to, there was some sort of like Mark Sterling AEW, I don't know. I think it was at like a Starcast or something. I don't know. Maybe WrestleCon. Mm-hmm. And Mark Sterling was in like, it was like a hotel, small room, ballroom thing, conference room. And there was a bunch of fans sat there. I don't know what he was giving a presentation on, but Max Caster walks in. Everybody sort of, geeks out a little bit. And he gets them to do the chant, and then he gets them to all sign his petition. He says, okay, well, now we could take pictures. So everybody line up, and you can take a picture with me. And then as soon as somebody puts their camera up, he just runs away. And they're like, God damn it, this asshole. He's funny.
Pretty funny. Yeah, he is funny. And then we had an interview backstage with Paragon and Daniel Garcia. They want to face Callis family because Adam Cole's like, I can't stand the Callis family. Hey, Danny, I know we have issues, but I think there's mutual respect. You want to tag with us against Callis family? And he's like, yeah, sure. That's the number one thing I want to do is get my hands on the Callis family. Seemingly not really all that concerned about getting that TNT title back off Adam Cole's shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, he looked at it. He said, there's a lot of things I want, but I want to get my hands on the Callis family. And then the Callis family had a response, and they brought in Hechicero, who is now part of the Callis Familia. And Takeshita proclaimed Callis family Ichiban.
But then it wasn't Hechicero, Takeshita, or Fletcher that faced Paragon. They were in a tag match against the Outrunners on Collision. It was Roppongi Vice, Archer, and Josh Alexander who faced Paragon.
Right. Yeah.
But my recording cut off before the finish, so I don't know who won that match. I'm guessing Paragon did.
Yeah, it was a boom to Rocky.
All right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, man. If they did that match though, that team of Fletcher and Takeshita alone should turn Paragon into.
Let me ask you this:
dust.
What if Paragon all sat at each other's shoulders with a trench coat? Would they have a chance then?
Then the trench coat will be filled with dust. Because them Callous dudes are fucking big.
Yeah, they're
Those are some huge guys.
Yeah, 6'2" at least.
Man, it's
230 at minimum.
They're huge. And
Yeah.
Takeshita's voice is so wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, I love when he talks. It's great. Those dudes are awesome.
Oh, they're great. And then finally here on Dynamite, Nick Wayne, he ended up defending his Ring of Honor TV title on Collision successfully in a 4-way match, but it was set up here on Dynamite. Lexi says that Nick had a great showing at Best of Super Juniors. Christian talks some shit to the Denver crowd, tells him to shut up, says, Lexi, you're right, but he didn't win the tournament. Yeah, he had a grueling schedule, but no excuses, right, Nick? That kind of schedule would earn anybody a night off. But Nick, you're not anybody, and tonight you're going to keep that momentum going and defend the title. And Nick's like, you did this right before we left. It was light work for me. And Christian says, you didn't let me finish. You're going to defend in a 4-way match tonight. It was Sammy Guevara.
Sammy Guevara.
And A.R. Fox.
Was Sean Dean in there?
No, Lee Johnson.
Lee Johnson. Yeah. He was second. He was cornered by Blake Christian. I was like, why wasn't Vanilla Baby in this match? Because he would have won it. That's why. Because they were scared of him.
Oh, because he would have walked out as champion. Is that what you're
Because he
saying?
would have walked. Yeah. It was weird
Also
seeing
on
him.
Collision, Ty Mello returned.
Yeah, that was cool. She helped out Anna Jay against Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. And then it was a big pull apart thing.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then
was
there was
cool.
just like FTR took on
Atlantis Jr. and
some luchadors. Atlantis.
I don't remember the other
No,
Atlantis
sorry.
Jr.'s teammate. But anyways, FTR won.
Yeah, FTR of course won that one. So Collision's gonna collision.
Yep.
No hologram though. What the fuck? You have a collision in prime time on a weekday, and no hologram?
Well, I guess well, no, 10 o'clock. Is that still considered prime time?
Nah, probably not. But still, it's a good spot. It's after
It is.
Dynamite.
You got the Dynamite lead in, so that's a good 600,000,
No
700,000
NBA
people.
competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the game one of the Stanley Cup Finals last night?
Oh boy, that NHL competition. Is that even considered competition?
I mean, it's championship series sports, so.
People like that shit, man.
All right, NXT. That happened on Tuesday. We talked about Mariah May making her debut during a segment where JC Jane was addressing the NXT universe after her shocking NXT Women's title win. We'll get to that in a moment. Main event was Trick Williams defending the TNA title against Mike Santana. It was a really fun match.
Yeah, no.
Santana's a hell of a wrestler.
Yeah, he's great. He's awesome.
And
yeah.
his promo or his interview beforehand was great. Trick had an interview as well. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. And I guess Elijah is getting the winner at the next pay-per-view because he was sitting in the crowd.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and Mr. Iguana and Octagon Jr.
Dr.
Iguana and Aerostar were sitting in the crowd at NXT.
That was bizarre.
So maybe
It's so
Psycho
crazy.
Klein, as was Vikingo with his
And
newly
Vikingo
won
was there.
championship.
AJ Francis and that
Casey
other dude,
Navarro were there to
Casey
help
Navarro showed
Trick
up
get the
to
win. Yeah.
help with this match here. AJ chokeslammed Santana onto the announce table. And then Trick hit Santana with a trick shot to the back. Got another one in to get that win there. So Trick NA continues. And then we had the debut of Mariah May, but it went down like this. So JC Jane showed up to address the NXT universe. And it just led to like every woman in NXT and Evolve showing up to be like, well, I want to get next. So Fatal Influence comes down. JC's like, y'all didn't support me for the last 4 years. Can't get on the JC Jane bandwagon now. So shut your mouths and listen to what I have to say. She says, all's right in the universe because Fatal Influence is on top. And of course, Fallon is just giving her side look after side look the entire time. When they arrived at the Performance Center, in the ring, all that stuff. She calls the fans fickle, keeps on talking shit. She's interrupted by Lainey Reed. Larson.
Yeah.
Have we seen this person before?
I didn't know who that was.
Okay, good.
She must be on Evolve.
All right. She says, with the division being so stacked, I realized, JC, you're the most beatable champion of all time. So they're giving JC Jane the Indy Hartwell treatment here. Everybody says she's beatable. She says, and then Lola Vice comes out, who's a good guy, and says, the title isn't about JC or Fatal Influence. It's time to bring the title home to Vice City. Jordan Grace comes out, says, I want title. And then she's interrupted by Jada Parker, says, I want title. Kalani comes out, says, I want title. Lash Legend comes out, I want title. Thea Hale, I want title.
Well, Thea doesn't say anything. She just attacks Jada.
Yeah, she just comes out and attacks Jada. But the subtext is clear, Larson. I want title.
Yeah, everybody.
Then the
wants
lights
title
go down.
Yeah,
and they go, and then there's like a spotlight on the perch thing, and it's Mariah May, very happy, and the crowd starts chanting Mariah, Mariah, and she's like, I've finally arrived, and you can call me the next NXT Women's Champion because the best women's division in the world just got a lot more glamorous. And then later on, we've got Stevie Turner, Twitch streamer, with the Evolve Women's Locker Room, including Evolve Women's Champion Kelly Armstrong? Yeah, Kelly Armstrong. And she's like, she turns around, and it's just, I don't know any of these people. They all look like NPCs just standing around doing this. She's like, who's going to step up to me?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right.
The show opened with a North American title match summit, Steve.
I fucking hate summits.
Why? I thought you loved summits.
I hate summits. No. Have I liked summits in the past?
I'm pretty sure you liked summits at one point.
I hated this one. So Laredo Kid and Javon Evans. I love Javon Evans. I can't wait till he goes to main roster. Get him out of this NXT business. I want to see him on SmackDown. Ethan Page's music hits. Ego. He says this whole summit thing is a farce. I agree with you, Ethan. Ray Phoenix is stuck on a plane and Evans and Laredo are in the ring. Said I should be celebrating my title victory and tap dancing on the memory of Ricky Saints. No Ricky Saints this week.
Yeah. They did a medical update.
Oh, that's right.
He had a bruised larynx.
He has a vacation days saved up. He says, but instead I have to share my celebration with all of you. And Ava's already set up another North American title defense against Sean Legacy. Super Sean Legacy, according to the Evolve graphic.
Yeah.
He says, worst of all, I didn't get to agree to any of this. Laredo Kid tells Paige, boy, you like to talk and talk. Pedo, you have no huevos, which means you got no balls.
Mm-hmm.
And then Evan says, Paige costing him a match on SmackDown. He says, maybe I should stick my foot up your ass. He says, but it'd be better if I take the North American title on Saturday. Paige is about to leave. That brings out Sean Legacy.
Super Sean Legacy.
He says, whoever walks out of Worlds Collide, I got next. He says, hopefully it's not you, Paige, but if it is, I'll be ready. He says, I got a chance to become the first ever men's Evolve champion, which didn't happen. The other guy got it. This guy, Jackson Drake, won it.
Yeah, a vanity project.
Jesus Christ. Fucking the most AEW dark-coded shit I've ever seen, man. I'm like, why did three dudes who look exactly the same as each other just walk out here? What the fuck is this? Why is it 3 15-year-olds just walked out on my television? Excuse me, goodness gracious. Anyways, they start talking, and they're like, Jackson Drake is going to get all these names. All these fucking names.
Yeah, WWE's not very good at coming up with names, are they?
No, man. So he's like, Jackson Drake is going to take care of Legacy, and Ethan, we got your back. And so a big brawl breaks out. Faces clear the ring. They all hit suicide dives on the bad guy. Security comes out to break it up. So later on, Ava's backstage with the Laredo Kid, or as Sean Legacy called him, Laredo. She's there with him, Evans, and Legacy. She books an 8-man tag match with the three of them, plus a tag partner against Vanity Project and Ethan Page. Evans says, you know what, we can win 3-on-4, but then Dragon Lee shows up. He says, I'll be your partner. You know, dude, between WWE, NXT, and AEW, luchadors are eating good these days.
Yeah.
A lot of luchas out there.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yep. That's when we got the health update on Ricky Saints.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a bruised larynx. So I don't know if them giving a health update on Ricky means he's returning to NXT after his recovery, if he's going up to main roster. I don't know. So anyways, we cut to a locker room with Vanity Project and Ethan Page getting ready for their match. They're talking a bunch of crap about Ricky, about their opponents. And then Swipe Right says, hey, don't worry, we're going to take care of Shawn Legacy.
I will say the kid who's got the 1980s face, he looks like a bad guy on Stranger Things. I think he's got a future.
That's what's his Baylor is his last name?
Baylor? Chad Baylor?
Something like that.
Chad Baylor's not a terrible. He's got a great face.
Yeah.
It's very unique. In 15 years, he'll probably be something.
Yeah. So the 8-man tag match happens. Dragon Lee pins Baylor after hitting a Destino to get the win for his team. So I guess Ethan Page is retaining on Saturday.
Hey, what do you think would happen first? Let's say this Baylor kid takes off.
Sure.
He main events WrestleMania or retire. What happens first?
Say 15 years?
That's probably how long do you think it would take? How old is he now? Like 15, 16?
I think they said he was 19.
Fuck, I'm not that
20.
far off. That's hilarious. I thought he's like 23. Jesus Christ, he's like 20 years old?
20 or 20 the other day.
So maybe when he's like 32, 33, he hits WrestleMania?
Maybe.
Jesus, yeah. 13 years from now.
Brad Baylor, that's his name.
Brad, not Chad. I was close.
Yeah.
You think we'll retire before 13 years from now?
I don't know. I don't know.
Depends on how much we need.
Yeah.
Oh man, I should probably start a retirement account sometime soon. So we've got Oba Femi. Wait, what is this? So backstage, Oba's with Stone and Stevie. They got a contract for an NXT title match. Jasper Troy walks in. He's like, how does it feel to have to look up to your opponent? Because he's a big dude. And Oba's like, the result is going to be the same. And so they're going to have him. It's okay. I can do the accent because it's fake.
They'll have a match next week, yeah.
I didn't see it. I saw, but I didn't listen to it. There's a clip from Sheamus's Celtic Warrior stuff.
Oh, his workouts?
Yeah. And Oba's on there. And I didn't hear if I think he probably kept the accent going. Because he can never not do that now. I would feel so trapped. Imagine if I was like a British guy on the podcast here. Imagine if I started that as a fucking gimmick 15 years ago.
Do it all the time, every time we do
Hi, everybody, Steve here.
Like every time you were in a... So the thing would be if you were out in public, maybe you're talking, we're out playing basketball or getting lunch or something, and we're talking, and then someone who watches the show comes up, and like mid-conversation, you have to do
Put
the
it back
accent.
on, yeah. That'd be horrible.
And then we have to wait till they're out of earshot, and then you can drop the accent.
Oh, boy. But he's getting paid a ton of money, so, he's going to go far with that accent. This was a lot of fun. We had Miles Bourne taking on Charlie Dempsey in a rounds match.
I'm happy they had the rounds match since they don't do that for the Heritage Cup anymore.
Yeah, this was cool, though, because if Miles Bourne won, which of course he did, he got to graduate from the no quarter catch crew. He's out now. But I loved how they did the side-by-side entrance. I thought that was really cool.
That was cool.
And Dempsey just staring daggers at this dude, and Miles just happy to be there because he's got all the confidence.
Yeah.
And then it ends up playing out. It's good stuff.
And I like that they had Tavion Heights and Ren Sinclair be, corner both of them.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat. So Bourne scores the first fall at the end of round 1, so he's up 1-0. There's no falls in round 2, but as time expires, or right after time expires in round 2, Dempsey hits Bourne with a cheap shot with a knee to the gut right as after the round ends. So Dempsey opens round 3 with another knee to the gut and a regalplex to tie it up. And then in round 4, Bourne hits Dempsey with a drop kick to win the deciding fall. Afterwards, Miles offers Dempsey his hand, but Dempsey refuses to shake it.
Yeah. We had LFG winner Tyra May Steele in the women's locker room. Ariana Gray steps in, fresh from her run in TNA. Says, hey, if you're looking for inspiration, I've won numerous beauty pageants. I know you want to fit in. Pro tip, don't talk about yourself so much. Nobody likes a braggart. And then Grace leaves, and Tyra's like, all right, cool. I found my first opponent. So later on, they have a match. Tyra wins pretty easily with a bridging German suplex.
Mm-hmm. So is Brooks Jensen now the calling?
I mean, shit. They didn't do much of a story here, but it seems like that.
So they're chatting backstage, save for Izzy. So then Izzy blasts Brooks in the back with a chair. And then Nico and Sean Spears are like, what are you doing? And we have a match later. And she says, no, we don't. I got to push the next week. But if Brooks hasn't completely bought into the calling, then he's out. I thought, did something happen I'm not aware of? Was it a situation where he couldn't lay out Briggs during the tag match or something?
I don't know because I didn't watch that one. I just saw the result and celebrated because
yeah,
my hat.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know.
That must be why. That must be why at Battleground. Yes, it must happen at Battleground.
It could be.
And then Chase U, not surprisingly, took another L, this time to Dark State. Dark State wins with the triple team powerbomb on Kale Dixon. Not surprising. Chase U is going to be eating a lot of L's for a while.
Yeah, big jobber squad.
Yeah.
Big job squad. Yeah. Well, look at how efficient that was. What a rather efficient rundown of both.
Got through
NXT.
6 hours of wrestling programming.
Yeah, my goodness gracious.
Look at us.
Well, let's go ahead and answer some questions.
All right.
W.S. Fletcher says, how unqualified is Linda McMahon? On a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 15.
It might be higher than 15, man.
Like, I don't know what she is qualified for, but head of the education department.
Definitely not it.
Definitely not it.
Definitely not it.
She thought AI was pronounced A1. Like it's a fucking steak sauce. No, she's an idiot.
Yeah. Let's see here. Luis asks, what are your feelings about the Money in the Bank briefcase being defended? Yes.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, do it.
Yep.
1000% do it. Brainmore wants to know if you have checked out a band called Turnstile.
I've heard of them, but I've not checked out any other stuff yet. I should.
Ignacio says, have you guys ever cried watching a film?
Yeah.
Absolutely 1000%. Like, I've cried at a lot of movies.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah. Like, I cry at TV shows. Well crafted. By the way, we're on the precipice of watching episode 4 of Gemstones. We just watched episode 3 yesterday.
Oh, so good.
I've heard so many good things.
You might cry from laughter for episode 4.
That's possible. Boy, that fucking... Because episode 3 was when BJ did this pole dance routine.
Yeah.
And, broke his neck or whatever he did.
Yeah, his back, yeah.
That shit was fucked up. But yeah, I've heard good things about episode 4.
Oh, it's fantastic. Mr. Sinister here says, if Cena's definition of ruining wrestling is retiring with the WWE title, then shouldn't he also try to win the World Heavyweight Championship or any other title? Well, no, because the WWE title doesn't want the legacy. It's a lineage title.
Yeah. AJ says, who has the better signed and or partnered with Lucha division? AEW, WWE. I'm going to push on that because, man, there is so much talent of all the luchadors in both promotions. I can't even say, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Everybody's eating good on that, though.
Yep. Miko here says, will the El Grande Americano stuff elevate Chad Gable in the end, and to what level?
Bro, I don't know. I really don't. Like, is this dude going to win the world title? If he wins Money in the Bank as El Grande, is he going to win the world? I don't see it.
No,
I
if
think
if he wins the briefcase, it's to cash in on the AAA title.
I think they're kind of stuck with this. Like, I don't know. I don't know how. Like, how do you not know how to write more stuff for R-Truth? But you're like, oh yeah, let's push this guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
I don't know.
I don't think it's doing him any favors, but they're pushing the guy, so maybe it is. I don't know.
Diehard Homer says thoughts on Bubba Ray's take on R-Truth. He says Cena should come out and say it was his idea to get him released since he wants to ruin wrestling, so he got rid of a fan favorite.
Ah, man, I don't know. That feels tacky to me. I think
It does feel tacky.
I think there's certain things that probably shouldn't be. I mean, far be it from me to question Bubba Ray.
There was some we want R-Truth chants on NXT.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's like a real person and a real situation. And unless they have distinct plans on bringing him back, which if they did, I think I'd be fine with it. But like, I don't know. It's like the perception. Look, I don't know what happened there in terms of like, did they offer him another deal? Did they offer him something else? I'm sure the dude's got plenty of money because he's been with the company forever, making a lot of money, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the perception right now is WWE are cheap bastards who didn't re-sign a beloved roster member. I don't know if that's something you want to mess with, you know?
No. Jen P here says, why is that almost everyone in AEW who does a run and rescue always waits till the person they are rescuing gets a beatdown?
Yeah, that is a great question.
That's just wrestling as a whole.
I wish there was a good in-story, in kayfabe explanation for it.
So I think what you can kind of surmise is, like, we all know they're just sitting in that gorilla position waiting for their cue to go out there. That's what's actually happening.
That's real.
But I guess you could say, well, from a storyline perspective, they were in their locker room or in catering watching somewhere backstage, and it took them time to get from that area through the backstage area to the entrance ramp to make it down to the ring.
You're mid just dunking your head on a golden plate of lobster.
Yeah.
The opulence of catering, of course, exposed.
Yeah.
And, or as it probably is, they just have a bunch of Slim Jims sitting around.
Yeah.
Coughed on mac and cheese.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there at catering and you're like, God, this is just dog shit. And then somebody's like, hey, punk, fucking Sammy's getting his ass whooped out there. What? Who? Sammy who? Guevara? Fuck that guy. No, Sami Zayn. Guevara's in the different. Sami Zayn, man. Oh, shit. Snap into a Slim Jim.
Does the running.
And then he's like, fuck, which way's Gorilla? That way.
They got signs and arrows everywhere backstage to point to where you need to go.
And then Punk says, I know that. And then deletes their phone number. You know what I was thinking? I don't know why I was thinking this is the most tangent. You know what I was thinking while I was watching? I was watching the Hangman Mox. No, the Mox Briscoe match.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it weird? It's still weird to me to this day that CM Punk said he never saw Rocky 3.
Yeah.
It's a little weird, isn't it? A guy who's he's so steeped in popular culture.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing even with you that even to relatively recently, like Hitchcock was kind of like a cinematic blind spot for you.
Hitchcock was not. It's funny you say that because you know what my main memory of Hitchcock was as a kid? The Hitchcock TV show, because they ran it in like syndication or something.
Yeah.
And so like we would watch that shit because it was in the 80s. Like Hitchcock movies were not like, that's not me growing up.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people have, even though they may be like pretty steeped in pop culture, may have kind of areas where they're just not that familiar.
But Rocky? That's crazy to me. A guy who's like a cult film actor, kind of, these days.
Yeah.
Written comic books.
Yeah.
Never saw Rocky 3. That's still weird to me. And I think he's lying about it.
You think so?
That's my conspiracy theory. Yeah. I think he's lying about it.
Quite an accusation to throw out there, Steve.
I know it's a heavy one. It's a heavy one. It is. I know he's going to delete my phone number after hearing this.
Yeah.
I think he's lying about that. He's my age.
Yeah.
How do you not know the lore of Rocky 3 at this age?
I don't know.
If you're 10 years younger, I might understand. 10 years older, I might understand.
That's the best answer I can give you, man.
You know, that was my first exposure to pro wrestling.
Yeah.
That's how I knew from day one it was fake.
Yeah.
Because Thunder Lips. It was like, oh man, that's kind of cool. It's like a show they're putting on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sebastian Garcia says, who are some opponents in NXT WWE for Mariah May that could rival her feud with Toni Storm?
None. No.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh. That's going to be the thing about Mariah, dude, is that I'm not sold yet. I think she probably has everything. Certainly has the in-ring. She's got the look. Her promos are like, okay. But she never had a story outside of Toni Storm.
Yeah.
But she seems to be very into the idea of being in WWE. So I think it's awesome for her.
Yeah.
And hopefully they find some really cool shit for her to do. When do you think she'll be on main roster?
I mean, she's a former AEW women's champion. I would be surprised if she was in NXT for too long. If the idea is, hey, we're going to have the high-profile free agents come to NXT for a short spell, if that's what they're doing, which hasn't been confirmed. That's supposition. You know, like they're doing with Stephanie and Julia, seemingly Jordan Grace. Because even when she signed, it was reported that she wouldn't be there for long in NXT.
Same with Ricky, yeah.
Yeah, Ricky. So if that's the philosophy, maybe after SummerSlam.
Wow, that soon, huh?
Yeah.
Probably right about that. And Ethan Page is going to be like, the fuck?
Like, when am I getting the call? No, Ethan, we need. It's good to have a veteran presence in NXT. You know.
Yeah.
Well, like Sean Spears is right here.
He's like, I want to go to SmackDown.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Josh says, do you think Sammy and Punk try to prevent Seth from winning Money in the Bank?
Yeah.
Which will lead to Roman coming back and ultimately costing Seth, leading to a 6-man at the next Premium Live event?
No, I wouldn't go that far. I don't think Roman's coming back. No. Could be proven wrong, but I'd be surprised if Roman's back.
You know what that is? That's called chemistry. Because I set it up knowing that you're going to just drop your answer, and then I do the payoff. You're like, what the fuck? No.
No.
I was like, this is so... What is this stuff? Roman coming back? Roman ain't... Well, I don't know. Roman might be back for Night of Champions. Hey, dude might have a point. A 6-man, including Roman, Punk, and Sammy at Night of Champions. I could see that shit happening. No.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Ty Moore here says, I'm about to be made redundant at my job. I'm dreading trying to look for another job. You got any tips for handling being made redundant at a job? Sorry to hear, Ty Moore.
So 10 years ago, we were made redundant at Machinima after posting like the best numbers we ever had.
The best quarter we ever had, yeah.
And they're like, we couldn't figure out how to monetize episodes with like 400,000 views per episode. It's scary. It is very scary. It is very scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated the feeling. I hated the feeling. We were very fortunate in that we were able to build our own brand up, and we had already established, the pro wrestling podcast, and eventually we stumbled into like, hey, you know what? We should just do that, the pro wrestling stuff, because it's what we really love. Just try not to become overwhelmed by how heavy that is. And oftentimes, and I've known this for a lot of people, the best thing that can happen to you is being forced into another gig. Oftentimes it's something you like more, end up getting paid more. Maybe try to view the world now as your oyster. If you were made redundant at a job, got laid off or whatever from a job that you're like, I'm not into this, but it pays me what I need to make it through. Maybe look for something that you might want, that you might be interested in, that you might find more satisfying. And you never know what you can find out there,
Yep.
So keep your head up and and hopefully everything will work out.
Yep. Hope so. Hope so.
Metal Pulse says, if there was a Royal Rumble with only Star Trek characters, who would win?
Well, it kind of depend on the field, wouldn't it?
The
Like if the Borg are in there, the Borg would win, right?
Well, the main 7, the Borg are kind of like, I don't know. I feel like they could be tossed. The main 7 from each of the series.
What about Khan?
Bro, the answer is Data. He's faster, stronger, and he's got that positronic brain.
About Worf?
Worf is good, but I feel like it might come down to him and Data. They might be the last 2. Riker would be first out.
Yeah. He'd be like,
or the entire crew of Enterprise.
I'm on the first ship to Risa. This is fine.
You got that right. Oh, man. Let's see here.
I kind of gone through all the questions, stuff that we've already discussed. So.
Yeah, we got a couple like TKO questions here. Oh boy, that's a big question here. Well, we'll do this. Rocket Man says, "Are WWE fans overreacting with how bad the TKO WWE are making their decisions? Personally, I think they've forgotten how bad it was with Vince in the 2010s. I feel like so I think the idea was like Triple H is taking over. It's a new era. And I feel like for the most part, the stories have been good. I feel like they've been much better than what Vince was presenting us. And so we have I don't know. I mean, are they overreacting? To a degree, I've seen overreactions. Mm-hmm. Oh, they're dying. Oh, they're not going to. So I don't know, man. It's not nearly as bad as it was with Vince.
No.
With Vince, the product was almost unwatchable,
Yeah, at times it was. I think part of it is, and I keep going back to this, but I think it's true that we were really spoiled with the bloodline stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now that the bloodline stuff has kind of reached its conclusion, it did at WrestleMania 40 for the most part. And there hasn't been anything up to that level to kind of take that spot in the card. I kind of feel like the honeymoon phase as it relates to Triple H running creative is kind of come and gone. And we're seeing what a Triple H-led creative department that doesn't have the benefit of something like that is going to be. Not to say they couldn't come up with a saga that could be as encompassing as the Bloodline saga was at some point. And I think that's just kind of what it is. We had arguably the greatest story ever told in the history of pro wrestling, and that ended, and there was just a bit of a letdown after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's so here's the thing. You're right. The honeymoon period is over, so we have a new norm. And so we're not thinking about the Vince stuff. We know it was trash. We know that there was a lot of trash back then. But after he left, Triple H took over. We had this great WrestleMania 40. And so, we have expectations. We have, a new bar was set, and it's like, hey, maintain that quality.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there has been I think the track record is pretty decent from a creative standpoint, but nobody likes to see their favorite wrestlers get, not released, but, basically told,
let go.
We don't want you anymore.
Yeah.
And nobody likes to see their product turn into just like an overt, obvious shill factory. But that being said, the proof will be in the pudding when big moments happen and the positive buzz will pick back up. We got a pretty big pay-per-view coming up this week, or Premium Live coming up this weekend with Money in the Bank, and then Worlds Collide should be pretty buzzy. I think, I was watching AEW, I was like, man, AEW is pretty good these days, and WWE is pretty good these days. So there's a lot to appreciate.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there's a pretty big disconnect between the online crowd and, you know, the rest of the fans.
Yeah.
But I don't think WWE is in danger of being, you know, surpassed as the number one company. The ratings aren't great these days, but there's a lot of there's a lot out there. I mean, that's one thing that they might want to be weary of is like oversaturation of their own product.
Yep.
But I don't know. That's their problem, not ours.
Yep.
Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.